Good evening. I've got a bit of a croaky voice. Uh, the Who's today were on at Gosford. The track was given out good. The rail was 3 metres out, um, which I thought before the first race, which wasn't very clever, that the fence was going to be an advantage. It was a slight advantage, if not a little bit more. The wind changed directions a few times during the day. Didn't have any effect. It started off um, the first few races as a steady norwesterly. It swung around to believe it or not, the opposite direction, a southeasterly, and then it swung around later in the day and fell right off to a very light breeze by the last to a southwesterly. As I say, no effect. It could have a little bit of effect on the times, that's all. Um, Now, uh, as I say, the track played fence, a slight advantage. If you were trapped wide in the run, it was very difficult for you to win. There wasn't a runner sat wide and won all day. The first race on the flux green, there's plenty of purr there, plenty of purr, but no takers and plenty of runners unlayable. 119.4 on the screen, 115 in the marketplace, but I won't go through it. There were runners that never had names. There were only a few runners backed. The top weight, Destiny Rising, it finished up running second, led on the fence. It was $5 out to $6.50. They took $6.50 off you at one stage. The favourite, Indianapolis, went up very short odds, testing the water, got to evens. When it got to evens, the pros stepped in. I missed laying it at evens and got a small something out of it at $1.90, but very, very small. There was hardly anybody there, and it sat second outside the lead. The Nashville Willow rode it, trained by Gay, and he said that it needs a bigger track to perform better, and it didn't travel very good for him, and it pulled up lame to boot and hung on him. So it had a few excuses, but we'll see what happens to it next time it's produced. And the winner, of course, it saved ground on the fence Agon, ridden by Horseman Bowman. Sat about midfield on the fence, a little bit closer, 3-4 back on the fence. Saved ground turning, eased off their heels, and ran down the leader and beat it by 3/4 of a length. And they got right away from the others. Running into third hole was the bottom weight ornithologist, and it was about a 20-to-1 chance. But there were lots of runners unlayable. The favourite was most certainly labelled at the evens, and you could easily get whatever you wanted out of it. But the winner was most certainly well backed as well, $8 into $7, and with not many players there. The second race, the flux screen said 125.8. Look, I'm not. It was a lot less in the marketplace. So there were prices there that just, well, for instance, the bottom one, Fizzmaster, it's returned 40-to-1, $41. I had $301 on my board when they jumped. I didn't get anybody to say $5 on it. So the 125.8, they just don't count. I won't go through the others. That's just mythical. The winner of this race was Dream Empress. Very well backed. Pros found it, trained by Gay, sat outside the lead, and the leader, it ran third, Stylish Lad. It led, as I say, from the winner, Dream Empress, who came across from a wide alley from barrier 13 in a field of 14, and sat outside the lead and finished up winning by 1.3 lengths. It was opened up $14, $13, 12-to-1, got out to 17, back into about $13, back to its original opening price. Very well backed. It was easy to run into. And as I said, there were lots of runners in this race that didn't have prices. For instance, number 4, Rodman, opened up 7-2, 3-to-1 actually, and was cost $9 when they jumped. not a punter in sight to say $1 on it. So there's another 11% that doesn't even count. And as I say, the winner was back. So it was a very hard race to survive on booking. Starting favourite in the race, well, who was it? Oh, yes, it was down near the bottom, number 12, the Darling one. Opened up 5-2, got out to $4, taken at one stage into about 3.80, but it was $4 when they jumped. And another runner back was Champagne Lifestyle, number 8, $5.50 given, and it started at $4.60. But it was if you ran into the winner, which I did, they found me. It was a hard race to escape on with very few players. Well, there's another runner here, for instance, number 9, Shea Consul. The flux say $9.50 out to $10. On my board, it was $12 to $17, back into $13. So I don't know what the story is there, but anyway, that's what happened. Race 3, on the flux screen said 107.1. excuse me, 103 in the marketplace. Well, there are only 2 runners backed in this race, and they were the favourite, who started very short. I returned it at 5-2 on, $1.40. You get $1.55. When they jumped, not much difference. Bookies let you lay $1.70 on, opened up 2s on, got it to $1.70, and the pros stepped in, and it sat third on the fence. Unfortunately, it bled, and it's got a trial before it starts again, so that was the excuse for the favourite. The winner, Radar Love, did start $6. It was very liable at one stage. At that price, I laid $2,400 plus a stack of other bets against it at the $6. It was $5 out to $6, into $5, but back to 6 when they jumped. The other one in the market, Chessmate, it opened up $5, and it was very hard to lay. Although at one stage, I think a few of the captains who went $6, they caught it at that price, but it started $6.50 when after the favourite was back to not a taker in sight. And the other 4 runners, they were 25s, 60s, 20s, and 25s. They more or less didn't have a price. So 57 and 31 is about 88. They laid you 8-1 on. They could pick it in 3, and well, not really. They did, I suppose, if you caught Chessmate at the $6 early, and they were right. It went straight to the front, Radar Love, and I suppose, and did win by 3 lengths. But the favourite, as I say, bled, so we can forget about its run. Race 4, on the flux screen, 101.2, only 97.5 in the ring, with plenty of runners unlayable. And the favourite went up 5-4 on, $1.80, Californian Storm, and bookies were very keen to reach for it. I suppose seeing Chessmate fail badly in the race prior, when it finished up running last, it copped a bit of a check in between runners at one stage, but it dropped right out as a Chessmate in race 3 and got beat 9.6 lengths. Well, of course, it had the California Storm in the 4th. It had form around it, but the form around it was on heavy tracks and back on top of the ground today. Most probably saw this horse do a lot better than it did on the very heavy track at Newcastle last start. As I say, it went up $1.80. Bookies reached for it, got out to $2.60 for a good bit of section. Only started $2.20, and it was taken straight to the front after a couple of furlongs by Blake Shin, I think, rode it, didn't he? Yes, by the brilliant Blake Shin, went straight to the lead, and that was the end of the section. He had them off the bit, turning for home. There was no betting when they swung. The second pick, who was backed, Miss Colina, it was always looking at the leader, and but always scrubbed along to keep up with it, and was labelled at $4 and $3.80 at one stage. It went up 5-2, got up to $4.20. into about $3.50, 60 at one stage, but started $4 when the pros stepped into the favourite late, and it ran second, beaten 3.3. At one stage, you could have laid one more roadie at $14 and $13, and of course I'm capable, who I was desperate to lay, went up $5, 4 to 1. When the $6.50 with a 11 to 2 went off, I left it there. I did get some section out of it, but nowhere as much as I would have liked to have had, and it had every possible chance sitting third on the fence. It finished up running fifth, beaten 5.6 lengths. But as I say, the favourite had plenty on them in that race. Race 5 on the flux screen, 104.8 in the marketplace. Excuse me, 95% only, with plenty of runners unlabelled. There were horses in this race that never had prices, and I most probably never got my whack out of this race. I won something on it, but it was a very small prize. I played a bit of a straight bet because the figures were so skinny. You couldn't get, you could only lay a few runners, and I half dodged the race, and I most probably paid the penalty. Up the top, horses that were backed were August, number 3 from the Snowden camp, ridden by Kerry McAvoy, $10 given, started only $8, maybe $8.50, but you could lay it well. The number 2 never had a price, neither numbers 5 or 6. Now the horse that started favourite got to be you. It was very well backed, opened up $3.20 into $3 without really being backed, got out to $3.70 I saw. It did only start $2.60. You could have got whatever you liked out of it. I got some small section out of it, but it kept on winding it off because I couldn't find customers for the others. The opening favourite was Niobe. It was having its first start in Australia trained by Chris Lees after coming from Europe, and it went up $2.80 favourite, and it got to $3.50. It was labelled at one stage at $3.50, and but it started that price. Not a lot of section for it, and the winner, it was extreme. Bookies reached for it. It trialled fairly, ridden by Father Schofield from barrier 2. You knew it was going to be near the lead and the fence, which was an advantage. It opened up $5. It did get up to $11, which was taken. $11 into $9 at one stage, got back to 10 towards the death. And the next runner, the only other runner in the market, was the second horse, Strata's Diamond. It went from $4 to $7.50. And those two, numbers 11 and 12, Quick's the Word, the winner, and Strata's Diamond, they led with the winner on the inside on the fence from barrier 2, Strata's Diamond on its outside. Strata's Quick the Word got off the hung under a bit of pressure in the straight, and the second horse protested against it. He didn't have 1,000 to 1 chance being upheld. It was a little bit similar to the protest at Wyong the other day, as a trainer was commenting, and he said if the one at Wyong was upheld, he said, how come this one wasn't upheld? Well, I know what he was saying, but it wasn't quite the same thing, but still, I thought the one at Wyong would have been dismissed, and it was upheld, and I didn't give this any chance of being upheld, and it was it was dismissed, as I thought. And as I commented at Wyong, bookies, of course, aren't allowed to bet on protests for fear that punters might be taken advantage of, but they're allowed to bet on the mechanical punters. You're allowed to bet on the mechanical horses where you've got none, and the dogs and the trots, of course, and you've even got form. They've got form on them. You can read form, but you're not being taken advantage of there, of course. You've got plenty of chance, you poor boys and girls. Anyway, as I said before, you must be you wouldn't put real money into them. Surely you'd have to be putting counterfeit. And going back to that race, the protest was dismissed. Niobe, number 10, it sat back in about 6th position. The first 5 runners got well away from the others halfway through the race, and Niobe ran on well into 3rd hole. Blake Shin explained that he didn't go forward before he did because the pace was right on, and he thought they'd come back. Well, they did come back, but they didn't come back quick enough for him, and it ran third. And into fourth hole was the horse was more or less on its outside, August, and it ran fourth. And they were the four runners in the market. Well, there were only five in the market. They ran first, second, third, and fourth. And number five finished up running fifth. That doesn't matter. Race 6. On the screen for the robots everywhere, 111.7 in the marketplace, 104%. As I say, similar to a couple of races earlier on, there were runners that never had prices. Number 1, Cardi, for instance, it went from $9 out to $21. Unlayable, not like it was last start. It was extremely well backed, but not a case of for today. It got trapped wide outside the lead, three wide outside the lead, and stuck on pretty well. Its run wasn't as bad as its price suggested. Starting favourite in this race was the gay Waterhouse trained Duralian. It sat outside the lead, inside Cardi number 1, and on the fence leading was the winner, Scandalise. It drew barrier 1, trained by Joe Pride, ridden by Christian Reith, went straight to the lead with Gay sitting on its outside Duralian, Blake Shin, and 3 wide, as I said before, Cardi. And turning for home, it was able to get clear Scandalise and held that break all the way down the straight to beat and win by 1.3 lengths and beat Couch Potato, who missed the kick but then got a lovely suck up on the fence to be trailing the leader a few lengths, 2 or 3 lengths behind it, but and was slightly held up turning for home. And as I say, got beat 1.3 lengths. And Gay's horse shifted out a little bit under pressure in the straight, and it ran third. Finish up starting favourite Duralian after started $3.20 after $4.60 was given. Laid a few good bets against it, and it ran third, beaten 2.1 lengths. The winner was also extremely well backed. It was $4 out to $4.20 into clear favourite at one stage at $3.20 when bookies reached for Duralian out to $4.60. But when the backing came for Duralian, it got back out to $3.50, the winner, and Duralian started just a little bit in front of about $3.20 favourite. So there wasn't much between them, and it was a hard race to win on bookmaking because there were lots and lots of runners in this race that never had prices. Some of those were number 11, Oklahoma. It went from $4 to $8. The one below it, Zandretta, it opened up $7 and got out to $11. And Aussie Kim, number 5, it went from $5 out to $8. It was a hard race to escape bookmaking, not to finish on the right side of the ledger. In race 7 on the screen, it said a fat 116.9. Excuse me. On the in the actual marketplace, 110% only, but there were runners in this race that never had prices. Dragon Bay, number 1, from $10 to $15. Number 2 never had a price, Drill Brick 30 to 1. The second horse would have been a result for captains, even though they did take $60. Number 4, it was $60, 50 out to 60, back into 50. Raw Hawaii never had a price. It was $11 to 15. Numbers 10 and 11, Yates Road and Beach Chat, both $16 to 21. Number 12, Ripper Arena, $13 out to 30. And the bottom one, 200 to 1, number 15, Intangible Queen. They didn't have prices. There's a good bit of percentage there. So the 110 we gave in the ring, there's plenty of percentage there that just didn't exist. The winner, Zabeel Babe, it was the first runner that was found, and it got the chocolates. Went up $12. Might have been able to snare 13 if you were lucky. which I think was given on a couple of boards, but it was, as I say, the first runner backed, and it was $13 into $10. I missed it at the 13, 12, and 11, but I laid plenty against it at the $10. And it finished up. It only started $9 hard to get, even $8.50. Might have even taken the $9. Extremely well back the winner, and it sat back past midfield off a fairly solid pace, and was able to come down the outside, ridden by Father Schofield, and get the money near the line. Only won by 0.3 of length, and as I said, it beat a 50-to-1 chance on as Essential, who also came from back in the field, and it was ridden by son Schofield. So the Schofield's father and son, Cornell of the race, and Decarius, who's still a maiden after 21 odd starts. He got into a good position down the side, but was forced to travel a little bit wide down the side after getting on heels, and got to the lead turning for home. It was very one-battered, and I must admit, did look the winner on straightening, got clear, but was run down by the other pair, and it went down by 0.7 on length, hanging on to third hole. Who started favourite in this race? Was wide betting. Number 9 started favourite, Tiger's Fury, trained by Gay, opened up 5-2, got to 7-2, back into $4. It was very disappointed, knuckled on jumping. It got a slight crack during the run, but it's very limited, and it's the last time it'll be starting favourite, if not even flat out finding a home back at Gay Stable. Other runners in the market that were number 14, there was a bit of money for it. Late Island's Teardrop, they took $10 and $11. And Decarius, you had to go to $5.50 to lay it, and you might have been lucky to lay it at $5 for something. The winner, extremely well backed, and it was hard to escape bookmaking. Race 8 on the screen, 115.3, a lot less in the marketplace, only 102, with runners unlayable. And the winner triumphant, I didn't want to miss it. It only flucked $5.50 on the screen. I gave $6, started $4.80 favourite in a wide betting race. So the captains did give $6 a field in this race, with a few runners very well backed, but plenty of runners not backed. And the winner sat early in the race, was behind the leader Beaveroo on the fence. But then the roughie of the field, Benny Blue Eyes, the bottom weight, it took off at about the maybe 800-metre mark, and I'm wondering whether, if he didn't take off, excuse me, and he waited till before the turn where he possibly could have, this horse might have been able to get the money, but it's easy now. He only went down by 0.4 of a length. If he would have won by 0.4 of a length, of course, it would have been a brilliant ride. That's what you've always got to say to yourself. And he only went down by 0.4 of a length, and he took off at that mark and went around the field. Beaveroo was leading. The winner was sitting behind Beaveroo on the fence, triumphant, and Corey Brown was able to ease off before the turn, a fair bit before the turn, and get in between runners, and finish a little bit strong down the running to catch Benny Blue Eyes just near the line, as I say, to only win by 0.4 of a length. And coming from back in the field, Fine Drop, who missed the kick, got a bit of a check at the start and was held up slightly turning for home. It was only 0.6 of a length away in third hole. Run the race again, you possibly get a few different results in that race, which is generally the case in those average mile and further races. That's about all I'd say. As I said, there was a bit of, on the flux screen, don't take any notice, for 115.3. Beaveroo, for instance, number 1, it went from $6.50 to $12, unlayable. Number 2 was well backed. Admiral's Cup was $9. Laid some good bets against it. I laid 6.5 monkeys. They did bet $9. I bet 6.5 monkeys at one stage. Then he started $7. Image of Darkness, it was backed at $9. Never had a price if he's a Riz. Fine Drop was hard to lay at $8. I found it that way. Ranger's Boy, I laid it at $12. Didn't have a price, levitating at $30. Number 9, Fluctuations, $6.50 to $13 to 2. $7.50. Couldn't lay it. The other well-backed one, we've already told you about Triumphant. I didn't miss it at $6, started $4.80 favourite. The best backed one in the race was Stellar Academy. I stood it for a good bit of section. $10 they bet, only started $5.50, hard to get. And I laid it at 8, but laid it at 9 and 7 and 6.50 for good section. It had its chance. It had its chance. It sat outside the leader, and no, it didn't. It was always well back in the field. It was sat back in third last position, and it never made up any ground down to running. It finished up running second last, beating 6.1 lengths. Then we go to race 9. On the flux screen, 107.7. There was a lot less in the marketplace, only 99%. But by the same token, you could work on this race and catch them. If you've got time and you want to have a look at the SPs, this is how they started on my board. $3.50 the winner, Snitsky, 26 the next, 17 scratch, $2.50. Number 6 at 15, 17, 26, scratch number 9, 13, 21, 201, and $60 the bottom. That's about. I had a bit of purr at the finish on my board, and I must admit, I did lay every runner except number 2. It was 109 when they jumped on my board. As I say, $3.50 the winner. At one stage, it went up favourite. It went up favourite at $2.50 and got to $3 not long after that, and was poleaxed into about $2.80. But then the second pick, Saint La Bomba, opening second pick, Saint La Bomba, who opened up $3, it got out to $3.10. It was into $2.40 at one stage. It did start $2.50 on my board, and laid $2,100 to 1,000 and $1,700 to 1,000. It was very labelled at that price at one stage. But then when they did take the $3 and $2.90 Snitsky, it got back out to $3, but then poleaxed towards the finish. Very, very well backed. You could lay it at $2.50, which it did start on my board, but it was labelled at that price. So you could average them out. It wasn't that bad. But unfortunately, they ran the Cornella. Unfortunately for the favourite backer, St. La Bomba, Nash, he just wasn't quite able to cross and get to the lead. If he would have been able to find a bunny, he most probably would have won. But he couldn't cross Rapid Attack, who hunted up inside him, ridden by a 3 kilo kid, and he got rid of it turning for home and got clear. But always looking at him on his back was the Father Schofield on the winner, Snitsky, and it finished just a little bit too good for him, beating him by 0.2 of a length. And Masterman, there trained locally on the track, had barrier 1, was always going to get a beautiful run from that barrier, ridden by Corey Brown, had every possible chance to tail them into the straight on the fence, eased off their heels, put a bit of a dash in after straightening, and went down ran third, beaten by 1.2 lengths. Would have been a big result for me. As I say, every run in that race was labelled except Master Novair, and if you averaged them out and caught them right, you could have had a good little book. But unfortunately, as it turned out, the second favourite beat the favourite, and it all depends which way you went bookmaking, whether you won or lost on the race. That was about it. The races are on at the Who's are on at Rose Hill on Saturday. So I hope you have some luck on all the meetings if you're betting tomorrow, and especially over the weekend. Good evening.